All
Sweet.
right. Yeah, you guys should be good to share if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, also, I have to say, the first time we met you was at Jesse had a guild house, like a build guild hacker house. So you were doing your scaffolding presentation, and just
Yeah.
had to bring this up.
Awesome. So that Scaffold-ETH presentation was effective and it got you to fork it, right? So I should
Yeah,
do more of
exactly.
those.
Yeah, more of those.
You never know. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll just go through all the stuff. But the other thing is we'd love to actually just take you through the app. Now the thing is with the app right now it's running locally. And the only reason for this is because on the first day that we dropped this on mainnet, there were too many players, right? And then our client just like needed to go into maintenance mode to like handle the influx. So we're just redeploying the client again today. But cool.
So
Um,
don't mind your local host. All of this goes to production and will be on a production URL. And
yeah,
and
exactly.
almost as fast, right? Is it on Base or Redstone or Optimism? What do you guys deploy to?
On Redstone.
Redstone. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the contracts are already up on the chain. There's already Scaffold-ETH games that have been played on that. Like there's 4 games people opted into that were Scaffold-ETH. It's just right now the main client is being redeployed to handle the large influx of players, which is why we got to do this call with our local host. Um, but yeah, I'll just walk it through. The project's called Biomes.aw, and anybody can go there to check it out.
We're seeing
Um,
the Zoom page for some reason. I see the Zoom browser. Oh, weird. Uh,
Do you see like the Google Slides or no? Yeah,
it's
but there's
really
like
weird.
a zoom overlay or something like some debug like bug something like
Yeah,
the rendering problem. I think maybe you can like stop it and share it again
yeah,
and see.
yeah.
Okay.
It was really weird. It was like trying to display. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Now we're
Now.
good. We're
Yeah. Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Good, okay. Cool.
okay, and I think you might have to switch that every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait.
Cool.
Actually, let me try sharing my entire screen. 'Cause I know that's what I did the first time, but it didn't work.
It looks
Okay.
good.
Looks good.
Yep.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, so this project is called Biomes.aw. You can go on at any time to check it out. And the most like simple way to think about it is it's actually just like if you go next, it's just like each biome is like a Minecraft mod. And so biome one is just vanilla Minecraft with some changes because it's all on chain, so you need to make some compromises. But yeah, in the game you just, you mine and build like you do in Minecraft. Uh you have crafting stations and you can craft things with the stuff you have mined. You can craft weapons, you can craft chests,
Looks really
things like
nice.
yeah, and it runs all in browser and it's like quite performant. And you can hit other players, and if you kill them, they'll drop their inventory, and then you can just pick it up and stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Very
it's just
PvP.
PvP, it's vanilla Minecraft, it's not overthinking it. And with vanilla Minecraft, basically what you can do is you can deploy all of these like Scaffold-D templates over this base game that will try and get players in that base game to opt in to certain like social systems or games or experiences. Things like you could have a survival mode, right? Where there's a Scaffold-ETH where players opt into the Scaffold-ETH and send in like, some dollars, some fraction of an ETH. And then they try to kill each other. And the last one standing sort of gets that entire pool. And so that's not baked into Minecraft, obviously, but it's like it's overlaid via smart contracts to get players to do things. Or you have like we have this other thing called like buildonomics, where basically like actually we'll show that later. We'll show a demo. But you can get people to like build all kind of things in the world, like build statues, or like if there's a house and like you really don't like the clan whose house it is, you can write a smart contract to incentivize people to break it.
So
And
yeah,
so
when you're saying Scaffold-ETH, they're going to Scaffold-ETH. You're talking about there's actually like a smart contract app, and it's a smart contract app that exists on top of some existing world. There's an existing world that's on chain, and then you're saying, okay, let's take this token from this existing world and let's reward people who smash this thing, and that goes on chain. And Scaffold-ETH just helps you build the like little dynamic piece on top to kind of write the rules for the behaviors you're trying to incentivize. Am I saying that right?
I think for the most part, the one part you said was that there's a token in the core world.
Oh,
but they're
okay. Yeah, I was just
actually
imagining some on-chain element of the core world that I would be using or
yeah.
extending.
The only thing that's on chain is like what object is at what position.
Hmm.
So like, oh, there's some wood over here, there's a player over here, and like, and sort of the physics for how these objects can interact, but that's it.
Okay.
And so like really the way we've actually been thinking about this is if we think of the experience people have with smart contracts so far, you use smart contracts to program around symbolic things. Like I'll write a smart contract for money, or like I'll have like a smart contract for like governance votes or identity. These are all like symbolic things. And we came from this sci-fi idea of like, okay, well, what if you could write smart contracts over like just like the physical things? So I could be like, if I wanted to write a smart contract over our world, and it's like, okay, this smart contract where it like incentivizes people to grow corn around the world, they get like rewards for doing this, or this smart contract like try to incentivize people to like ride a bicycle, and if they do, they get to be part of the green movement and like get exclusive clubs. But this is very hard to do, right? Because the world is not verifiable. But the way we think about it is that this on-chain world is just like a really, really toy physics version of our world. And then you can write smart contracts that like can verify physical actions that happen in this like virtual world. And so it gives a different experience to writing smart contracts because now you're not just coordinating around money, you're coordinating around like, all right, keep me alive, right? Don't let other people like kill me. And if they don't kill me, then like I'll send you money or something.
It makes sense. Yeah, this is cool. I
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
So the way okay, so now the way this like scaffold system works is basically in the world. As I said, it just you have like an object at each position, and the world advances when the player takes an action, right? So the player might move, or they might place something down, or they might mine something, hit someone, etc. So these are your player actions. And what we basically have is we came up with a system called hooks and delegations. So with hooks, basically what we do is like obviously, hooks already exist, but these are opt-in hooks. So a player can opt in to allow extra logic to run whenever they take some action. So whenever they build, this extra logic might track like who built what, right? Or like anytime they hit, it might track like who hit what and is the player they hit like someone they're supposed to hit, according to this like game I opted into. So hooks are just logic that runs, before and after player actions. And delegates are like a player is allowing this smart contract to call, like to take action on its behalf. And these are just two like, developer primitives that don't really matter. It's just two things we like really leverage upon to create the types of powerful extensions we need to. Hooks and delegates. So we can actually go through an example of like just like setting up one of these scaffold-ETH so we can actually see what this actually means, right?
Yeah.
So let's say the example we want to do is in the game, build a hut, right? And if you build a hut, then you get to force Bob to drop weapons from his inventory. So cool. So we open up the scaffold-ETH. Are we just gonna deploy it at the
Yeah,
end?
actually, we can just like run it. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Okay, so like, so this example we've obviously already built. So I'll just run the example and then we can see it run. And so we just change this to locally. And so I have the client running locally. And I have two guys. I have one random username over here, and then I have another guy over here.
Main wallet.
Main wallet. And both of them we're gonna be running the scaffold-ETH template. I just
Actually, before you even do it, can you go to one of them? Let's say you go to main wallet.
yeah.
And you want to just really quickly just move him around, mine in place, so
Sure,
you get
sure.
the gist of it.
Yeah. So yeah, so like basically like the biggest difference from Minecraft is like this guy I'm moving right now is not on chain, right? That's why I can like fly, I can move very snappily. It's this guy that's me. This is my avatar and he's on chain, this mini version. So if I want to move him, I can basically use this white tile UI and I click there, and then my little guy will send a move
Oh,
transaction
weird.
at the bottom left.
Interesting.
You
What
see
a
what this
strange game dynamic. I've never seen so yeah, so you have like a bot that you're controlling with your God mode. You have a God mode character and then you have like a board game character and so that board game character has to be close to the blocks if you want to mine them, not your
exactly.
God mode character.
Exactly. Like
Interesting.
this aura right here is basically because of the like the purple border. The purple border, so I can build and mine basically inside of this like this
Inside
guy
of the area.
inside of the area, right? Because he's the one that's on chain. And so people when they come hit me will basically hit this position. And so yeah, I can build mine, move, and then I can craft some stuff. So if I want to get a tool, I'll have to like
Do
go
other
to it.
players see both of your characters or just your on-chain character?
So they see both, but
Okay.
only if they're on our client.
Okay.
But if they're on a client, then they won't see, because the big guy is just a client thing,
A
right?
client only thing. Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. So this is just what it looks like.
Yeah.
And okay, cool. So now we can go through the scaffold ETH. So maybe if you just disconnect.
Yeah.
This is like normally for any of the scaffold ETH templates, you have like your landing page. And we sort of have, okay, we can connect our wallet.
Yeah. And then because I'm local, I'm just using Burner, but you'd obviously use like a actual wallet.
Cool. So the first thing you have to do when you have this is like, it'll first prompt you to opt into the game by registering the hooks and delegations that you need.
And so yeah, so this one's just it's a hook for the bill system. So every time I place a block, it's gonna run some additional logic. And we'll look at the contract for this, so it'll make more sense. But right now we're just showing what the user will see as they do stuff.
Actually, yeah, could you go back to the slide?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because before that, like, because we'll actually just go through the flow
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah.
But like, I should describe a bit about how like just what like this contract would even look like if you wanted to do this example of like, okay, build huts to drop weapons from Bob's inventory. If you wanted to do this, basically the contract would have to do a couple things. One, the contract needs to handle delegation, where like if Bob is the person who's allowing like their inventory to be dropped, they would need to sign a delegation that allows a smart contract to drop wooden pick on their behalf, right? And then other players are going to be building like huts to actually, call this. So then the contract will also have to track like every time players run build, the contract will have to like track who built what, because you don't want people submitting huts that they haven't actually built, right? And then so as soon as you have this, you can enter a flow where, okay, Bob would need to opt into the scaffold ETH by like giving permission to the delegation, and all other players would have to opt into the scaffold ETH by giving permission to the hook.
And it's
And then
easier instead of saying Scaffold-ETH, it's easier to say like extension. It's like a game extension, right? To us,
Exactly.
Scaffold-ETH is such a loaded term as a product that we use to prototype and everything. But what
Yeah.
you're saying is there's a game extension that Scaffold-ETH is kind of spinning up here. And I keep getting stuck on that. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Keep
exactly,
going though.
exactly.
You got
So
it.
that's why the way I think about it is like you have your core world, which is just like position, objects, and physics. And then you have your extension middle layer that deals with delegations and hook permissions. And then you have like people being able to spin up scaffold ETH instances with like which they're kind of already used to, but in a way where that scaffold ETH instance
It's just
already
talking to your direct game world. And it's like,
yeah,
here's the whole game
using this
world.
middle
And
layer.
you can prototype, rules and objects and things for that world. That's cool.
Yeah, so then as soon as you did this, basically, if you set up this contract, what would happen is every time a player builds a hut, they would have to submit coordinates of the hut they built. The smart contract would verify that it actually matches the hut it's expecting, and the player actually built it. And it will know that the player actually built it because they had registered the hook, right? And as soon as that happens, that player can cause Bob to drop the wooden pick because Bob had provided delegation. So that's kind of the pattern of these smart contracts. And now we can actually just go through it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So because we just talked about this, let's just like see just a concrete example. And you see that like and so we basically taken like Scaffold-ETH as a bare template and made a template on top of that for like this sandbox basically. And so you have this like contract basically that is like for this extension, it's like both a delegation and a hook. And so like the functions you'll define are like that get called on register hook, unregister hook, before any system is called and after any system is called. So for hooks, these are like the four main functions that like the user gets to define. This build game is very simple, so we like don't really care about anything on register and unregister. But we can talk about an example where this would matter. Really, for this build example, all we care about is like who built what. And so what we'll do is like on the after call system, this is where like every time someone builds in like the vanilla Minecraft, this will get called. What we'll do is we'll just get the coordinate of, okay, who's the builder? What are they like, which coordinate are they building at? And then we'll track in our own data structure, like the cord hash, because we can't
Just
have a
who built
key,
what?
and then their address.
Yeah.
And then the only other state we really need is like what build, and build is just like a strut that's tracking like object types at position.
This
And
is still your blueprint.
this is like your blueprint basically, and this is again specific to the game. And then who's basically like actually passed this build, who's built this in the world, and these are the people that are allowed to drop. And so, okay, so for the hook part, all we really have to do is on every build, this thing will now get called if the user opts in, and we'll just track they built it. And then the other function we need is to actually like match the build to
Just verify that the build, the thing, like the build the player made actually matches your blueprint.
yeah, and then the actual dropping the item for the other player.
So that's like drop item is just the delegation where Bob had basically allowed this contract to drop an item. So that function is just defining it.
Yeah, so this is the main function. It's like this call from only works because Bob has delegated, okay, like this smart contract can call my function. Yeah, and then
So it's
these are
almost
just,
like these extensions are separate rules, and like you said, people have to opt into it. In this case, Bob had to make the approve transaction to say that he'll play by the rules of this game. But by doing that hook, now it's all automated. And as soon as someone builds the village within the atomic transaction, it goes and finds out all the stuff that needs to happen because that village got built and hooks into your extension and calls the stuff. Am I thinking of that right? Or is there a second transaction that has to happen after the hut is built? Does it happen atomically?
Well, it could happen actually every transaction because you're right, like, it could, but because that would run a lot of like logic on every single hook.
It
the way
would.
this worked is just like, it just tracks like everything you place down.
Okay.
that's
So you build the hut, and then with the second transaction, you say, hey, I just built a hut. And if you follow the hooks, you'll find out that that causes this other action to happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
wondering.
And because, as you said, how like you're opting in to these like additional rules, that's why the thing that becomes really important is your unregistered hook and unregistered delegation. Like,
Yeah.
what are the conditions in which you can opt out of the game?
Exactly. So
Right.
like for example, for this one, like with this smart contract, like if you're on an unregistered delegation, we have a condition. It's not always true. It's that like no one's basically allowed any item drops, which means if somebody has built a hut and they haven't like actually claimed their item yet, like their reward, then me as like the delegator can't just unregister now and like rug them almost because like, well, they spent all this time building it and now they can't drop it. And so yeah, like based on this condition, you can actually like prevent people from like when you deploy the smart contract, you'd pick what your condition is for unregistering.
Yeah. So now I think it'd be a good idea if we now went through the actual like the template.
Yeah, exactly. So now we'll just show like from the users. And so actually, okay. So first I'll show like from Bob's perspective, and this is the guy who's gonna say, I'm gonna deploy the smart contract to incentivize people to build something. And so what I'll have to do is like I'll also connect my wallet, and then I'll have to actually give delegation to this smart contract. And so that's what I'll do over here, just register the delegation. And then the second thing I have to do besides giving delegation is I have to like basically pick which hut or build, because right now this is not like hard coded in the contract. I get to actually like pick what I want people to build. So for the purposes of a demo, I'll just pick something like super easy to build, so it'll be quick. So we have this like little creative mode where you can basically like incentivize a build. So
It's like this is your blueprint creator.
yeah. Yeah, so actually we can just go with this because it's like the simplest thing. And so this build is basically just 3 grass blocks in a row. And so we want people to build this in the world. And if they build it, we'll give them our items.
So
And
he basically built the blueprint, copied the like the JSON file of it,
yeah,
the schematics, he pasted in into this format,
yeah.
clicks import,
And
and
then
then just sends.
exactly. And then that's all we have to do from this like account because now the contract's deployed and the build is set. Now this is the actual player who's like now he's like
Actually going to build the design, and if he builds it, he can get the reward.
exactly.
So he will basically come into this app,
Yeah,
he'll click copy to get the blueprint,
yeah.
and then he'll paste it into the client. And voila, you can now see it. So if you click on it, the player can place outline and place the blueprint in the world. And now they see, okay, if I fill this in, I'll match the blueprint.
Yeah.
So they'll fill it in.
Let's get 3 grass blocks. And then I'll place them down over here. And it's getting built.
Is that a fake timer there? It's taking time because of his build speed, or was that like servers or something?
No, just 2-second block time.
Exactly.
Right now, like we're not batch call sending in multiple builds within one transaction, but we can do that, and then this would all 3 of these placements would
That would have
happen.
happened a lot quicker if it was on like a L2 that was just like a server you were hitting. But in this case, it's a local host that's actually set to be 2-second delayed. Is that right? Okay, just
Exactly.
checking in on that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then from here you can just copy.
Yeah. And all we need is like the coordinate in the world, right? Of where this build was. So we'll just copy the
So
Coordinate.
now you're going to prove that you have built the thing. Is that right? Yeah.
exactly. And you see how it's like it's just a template. Like, and so there's a function called match build where I can pass
Paste
it and
in.
then paste it in. It'll have my coordinate. I just hit the button. And then now when I send this, it'll like, actually verify I built this in the world. So I'm interacting with the smart contract. And now my address is basically allowed to drop items. And so to drop the item, I have to pick which like item I want to drop.
This is a lot of transactions. It's not just like 1 or even 2. It's like many transactions. Oh, this is
Yep.
cool. Cool map.
Yeah, I'm trying to find where my other guy is because I need to drop his tool. So I think he's like in the other world. I just need to get his avatar back. Okay, so see how he has a tool. So if I go to this guy, where is he? He's over here. Okay,
Tracker.
yeah, let's just track him.
You need to pick it up.
Yeah, so I'll just move my guy closer to where he is. And when I look at his inventory, I see he has this tool, so I can drop this. If I right click, I can get the like on-chain entity ID. I'll come back to my extension client and then I'll just paste it in and I'll hit send. And because that guy has delegated to this contract, it will now call drop on behalf of him.
So it just dropped.
And then you see how it just
Nice.
dropped.
Yeah.
And now like I can just come pick it up. And then he basically gave me his tool for building that item and I can start using it.
So
Yeah,
there's
so
there's the character that like writes the smart contract and creates the rules. And then there are like the players, and even the players still have to like call all these complicated functions and copy paste the JSON. Like that's definitely like the hardest part here is like
Yeah.
you're expecting players to like copy and paste around JSON. I wonder if there's a more native integration of these two
So-
concepts.
Yeah.
So there is now. So the thing that's getting released. Okay, the thing that's getting released right now is basically like we just defined a set of standard getters. So in this extension, like you can in your extension contract, you can define all the builds and the entities and stuff in your getter. So then in this client, when you opt into a game, all of these will just be like auto fetched from the contract by calling that getter, and you won't have to copy paste. The thing the player will still have to do though is the player will have to like go to this extension client and like opt into the hook. Like they'll have to register hook, register delegation. And this is like a point of security concern, right? Because like somebody could come along and like put in a delegation that really screws the player over. And so that's why like the register, like when you opt into a hook and delegation, it's important that like either you read the contract before you do this, but like a lot of people are like, don't read contracts. So maybe you need some like social system, but like there needs to be some sort of way for you to like know which contracts to trust to opt into. And there'll definitely be like some sort of sense of like players like that are more hacky and like crypto native will probably like get this way earlier than others, right? Because of that. But yeah, so the player will still have to opt into the register like the hooks and delegations. But after that, they won't have to copy the JSON because they'll just be fetched by the getter. And you
Nice.
basically only go on the extension client to view things like, oh, like the leaderboard or like the winner, um, stuff like this.
But I could see like you're playing this game and you're like, all right, we need to create a new tribe and like there's some gold that is shared between the whole tribe. And
Right.
what we want to do is collect wood. And so let's make a rule that says if you bring back 10 wood, you collect this gold. And
Exactly.
you'd have to write that into Solidity probably. Like one day there may be a rule system that's nice and GUI-ish, but those are always hard to make. But let's just say you have one good programmer that codes it up and deploys it. Then everyone else has to just like see, hey, there's this new rule. If you bring wood here, you get gold. You can opt into it by hitting, approve, and you hit approve. And then you go do this stuff. You go collect the gold. You come back, you drop your gold off. Then you still have to like make a transaction that says, hey, I brought some gold. I need to get paid for, or I brought some wood. I need to get paid for the gold. I feel like there's lots of clunky hooks that could be automated too. Also, like some like world cron that's running or something.
Yeah, so this depends, yeah, because you can have a thing where like it basically depends like how much do I want to put into my hook versus leave as like a transaction after the fact. Because you can imagine a thing where like, okay, if I've defined my area in this game, like in the world, it's like, oh, within this area, bring back wood, then the hook would check like every time you place down an item, are you placing down wood and within the area? Right? And if you are,
And that
then you
just
get
gets expensive, you're saying? Like all of that gas, all those gas checks gets expensive?
it doesn't get no, it doesn't get too expensive because this is like on a really cheap L2. Like you can totally do this.
Yeah.
And some of the more like the complicated game modes we have, like deathmatch and stuff, are actually running a bunch of logic on every hook.
Yeah.
It just depends on like how much you want to run every hook versus how much you want to run like when the user like
Okay.
clicks a
It's more like an architectural decision. And you as
exactly.
the programmer are like, damn, it's gonna have to run this check every time. I'd rather just have like a closeout function that closes out once all the logic is set instead of doing all this on-chain logic. But technically, there's nothing stopping you from doing it, and you can do it. It's just like you're making an architectural decision not to have it
Yeah,
be so
exactly.
read heavy.
Exactly. Or like, for example, we ran a game like a couple of days ago called Race to Sky, where it's like there's like a spot in the world that's defined, and whoever gets there first, basically gets like the prize pool. And that one is like automatic. So if you look at like the hook is checking on every time you move, do you
Mm,
move in like the prize area? And then like automatically you don't have to go claim your prize, right? It'll just
it just
send the
happens. Yeah.
it just
Wow.
happens. And so you could do this as you could totally do this as well. Like for this game, it made a lot of sense. But yeah, like it just trade off it basically.
But you could have
Yeah.
also had a button in the middle of the area, and if someone hits the button, then it does the check and pays them too. But you'd
Exactly.
rather just have it like every move, we're gonna hook into it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
So it's kind of up to the dev.
Architectural. Yeah. Up to the dev to make. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yep, go ahead.
if you go back to the deck, I
Yeah.
just want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just did this where we just showed like now as Bob, you'd have to basically allow delegation, submit the blueprint, and then as a player, you'd have to allow the hook, you'd have to build according to blueprint, and then you would trigger the drop. And yeah, I think the last thing we want to show you was actually just like the four things we ran last week while this was still up when before the influx came up. I think some of these we still have up, right? Like
We do,
the actual
yeah.
like Scaffold-ETH clients.
Exactly. There's still up, yeah.
So we could just open them.
Sure, yeah.
Like we can do Race to the Sky.
Race to the Sky. Okay. Like you want to
Yeah, just
because it'll be
this game has ended.
yeah, yeah.
But actually, like we're gonna show the game mode. So basically, yeah, this first one we did was Race the Sky, which was kind of crazy. Because you can see this red box right in the sky, And this was like the actual contract for creating this game mode. It's like what, 100 lines?
Yeah, it's super small.
Um,
It's just checking that you're in the area. That's it.
It's just like in an area, and
Seems
it's
like that should be like 4 lines.
yeah,
Like it's only 100 because of all like the pretty prints and stuff. But yeah, it's just like 10 lines, like max, like important
Of real logic. Yeah.
of real
Yeah.
logic. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then so this was one, and then like we
Deathmatch.
did the match, where like people basically like they come into this area which has like red borders and stuff, um, and once they're inside of the area, they can see all the players that have opted in because they'll have like beams on them, and you have to try and kill as many as you can within 30 minutes. And whoever kills the most gets the entire prize pool. So someone got like Hope got 6 kills in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was crazy. I raced this guy because there were like 5 or 6 bridges that were built by people to try and get there. Um, yeah, and then the other two, which we don't have to like show, but the other two that were really cool, if you open your slide deck. Oh, I'll just open this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one,
You can see this one. Yeah.
What are we seeing
yeah.
here? Is this like a waiting room?
So
Trends?
so this
Yeah.
game, the way this one works, it's kind of funny where basically like you define a blueprint, right? Like of some build, and you set like a submission fee. Okay. So now if you want to join this trend, you have to build the blueprint in the world and you have to pay the submission fee. And the submission fee gets split between everyone who's already built the thing. Right. So it's a Ponzi, but it's like
Yeah.
build dominance,
You
right?
should be building a pyramid, not a box.
Yeah. So we had like Kelvin Victor build like
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he built like this like big flower thing.
It's like the OP logo, but it's built using flowers. If it is imported, yeah, you can see it. Click on it. Yeah.
And this was
Nice.
huge. So he actually built this in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, it's colliding.
Yeah.
You'll have to move it. Yeah, so he built this in the world and then someone destroyed it, which kind of sucked. So we are like, you should have also built like a bodyguard extension.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. If someone
I'm not-
starts to damage it, it like goes after them. Yeah.
Exactly. Or like if you go like protected, you get some like OP reward or
Oh,
something.
yeah. Incentives to protect it. Yeah.
Exactly.
and the last one was Bounty Hunter, where it's just like you kill people.
Yeah.
Basically to join the game, you have to put ETH onto your player. And every time you kill someone, you get their ETH. But if someone kills you, you lose your ETH. And you can withdraw every like 4 hours. So there was like, yeah, now there was like like at some point there were over 70 players that opted in. Yeah, so these are the 4 things. And basically we just want to show how it's like Minecraft, but worse because of the UX. I think
You
that's
sound like
like
small brain.
yeah. It's like worse. It's basically worse Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like you're able to like deploy these extensions to make every possible thing you could do in it economically significant.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to stress from before was like, you know, like Scaffold-ETH is like, if you're like new to like Web3, you sort of get to like get this really nice template to just like interact with the chain, get a nice client. So all the faucet wallet stuff is like abstracted away from you. It's interesting that like if we like are using smart contracts to not just program over like symbolic things like governance or voting, but like physical actions of like I want to incentivize this guy to go like go grow corn, or like if you want to see people write smart contracts in that way, then like this is basically like a template to do that. So it's like if you're new to like Web3, but like now you see smart contracts as a way to like incentivize people to do stuff. This is basically like your like intro to doing that because you have this base Minecraft world that
It's-
lets you learn that.
It's also just easier to relate to, right? Like if you're trying to relate to like writing smart contracts for like manipulating governance tokens, but people just don't like know what governance
Pretty
is.
abstract. Yeah.
Yeah,
But like
exactly.
the idea, like okay, like write a smart contract to get people to, like burn a house. This is
Yeah.
just easier to relate to.
Exactly.
It's really cool. Yeah, it makes me think of like just having one of these set up for like hangouts and stuff. Like whenever the build guild gets together, we should just have like a little world to go into or something. Is it hard to spin up your own? Like what's the infrastructure here? Redstone is the chain, but there must be some server.
Okay, so basically right now you can think of it like there's on Redstone the chain, you have your world, like your world contract, which just deals with what objects are what position and the physics. And then you have like your server, which deals with the client. So things like making the client really performant and stuff. But you could have like a way shittier, like you could have like the like OP craft client, right? Like with like Noah and stuff, which is way less heavy. And your performance will be way worse in the client, like it won't feel as nice and smooth. But you could use that to like interact with the world. Because spinning up this heavy like thing, you need like servers and stuff to actually run the client. Um, yeah.
But that's
Um,
something that you can spin up. Like, is it something I can spin up? Like, how hard is it?
you could spin it up if you can like if you want to like deploy it and stuff, you'll need to like do some Kubernetes and AWS stuff.
Okay.
But if you run it locally, you could.
It's pretty chill.
Is it open source?
The client, like a version of it's open source. There's like new cleaner version is not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still on
We
it.
gotta
Cool.
like fix it a bit.
It's okay. It makes sense. As long as you're like your path of shipping is eventually open sourcing those things as
Yeah.
once you get them cleaned up. Awesome. How else can we help? Like I feel like we could share this video. We could come into like a game session sometime that you guys play. I love seeing scaffolding. Carlos, you have to too. Like Carlos spent a lot of time thinking about that UI, seeing like the little blockies and the ENS avatars, like little touches that go a long ways. It's got to make you happy, Carlos, to see
It goes a long
that kind
way.
of in a different way. Yeah,
It does. It does. Yeah. It
good.
does make me happy.
Good. Yes, me too.
ENS is great.
That stuff like this also, like for
Yep.
every you can see like the like 'cause if I'm joining some game and it's like, oh, submit 0.001 ETH, like how much is that?
Yeah.
But I can click on it. That's
Yeah.
also good.
So yeah, I think obviously the video is good, but the thing I'm actually really interested in is what we were talking about, where I remember when I started like doing stuff with Solidity, I used like two things. One, do you guys remember crypto zombies?
Yeah. Yeah. People still use
Yeah.
crypto zombies. Yeah.
Yeah, I used crypto zombies, and then I used to do like Scaffold-ETH because you guys had a bunch of templates that like dealt with different like things. Like you'd have like an Oracle template or something. And then so if you want to like really quickly like learn like different aspects of crypto, you just spin up a Scaffold-ETH and it takes like an hour. You can just read the code and stuff, and you can just interact with it. I think the thing that would be like most helpful, and what we actually want to do most with this project is that idea of like, okay,
Here's a
well,
bunch of
people,
example extensions, sort of.
yeah, like writing smart contracts over a virtual world. And then writing smart contracts coordinate around like physical actions in a virtual world. This is an experience I think is actually really cool that people haven't had yet.
Could you,
And
one game that we keep building or keep going around is a little fruit market. You could easily build a little fruit market in here where there's like trees that are growing the fruit and you can harvest the fruit, take them to the market, and then have like reserves of each fruit with some gold that's actually like the Uniswap of them. And people could be
yeah,
walking around and trading fruits in the virtual world. That
because
could be like an easy build.
you could have like a chest, right? And
Yeah.
like when you grow these fruit, you put it in the chest.
And the chest has some like the fruit is sold at this amount, and if you take a fruit, you have to pay an amount or something like that. Like build Uniswap V2 into your world.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, this requires some coordination because, like, again, the core sandbox is just physics, right? So
Yep.
it doesn't know what money is. So you'd have to build an extension which tracked, like, okay, for every
There's
single item
gold.
in this chest, this is how much it costs. And
Yeah.
then you take a split of like the fee that you're getting from this Uniswap, like this trading extension, and you'd use to pay bodyguards, right? Be like people who are not opted into this like extension, don't let them take from the chest.
Yeah. Because like anybody can come break your chest, right? If you're not in your game, your extension.
So you
So
need
you
bodyguards.
have to have like a bodyguard that like attacks them if they take something out of the chest. Is that how it would work? Or does it like physically stop them?
If they were coming like towards the chest, you'd like first build walls around the chest and have a
Wow.
door.
You'd physically secure the chest in the
Yeah.
game and then
Because
have a guard that lets people
Yeah.
based on some rules. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
like
And if they don't pass the rule, then just hit them, right?
Yeah.
And you can do thing where like everyone powers up the guard, just give him diamond axes, so he's always able to do it. But you need physics and yeah, to secure this.
Cool. Yeah, well, we'll share this video. We've got a Telegram channel together with you guys. So as you guys are releasing these, it'd be great to come in and hang out. But yeah, maybe I would say that like Damu is probably the closest one out of all of us that might be interested in building extensions, and he may be deep into building a game right now. But I think that we could also release this video to Build Guild builders since they're so familiar with Scaffold-ETH, and they could maybe help build some extensions too.
Yeah, that's basically perfect. That'd be great. And we'll
Cool.
try and get more docs and stuff out there, just so if you're coming in new as like a person using Scaffold-ETH or Build Guild, this is one of those other things you can spin up to like get a different take on things you can do with smart contracts. And the last thing that would be very useful though is just that because we're starting to host hackathons now. And if you could just help us like just tweet out that this hackathon's
Yep.
happening,
For sure.
you use Scaffold-ETH to create these extensions.
Heck
That'd
yeah.
be really useful.
Yep. Like even like maybe we have like a prize or something like that. That's something that Build Guild does a lot is do hackathon prizes. So maybe we could have like $1,000 whoever has the best extension or something like that. And you guys would have to help us probably pick what the winner is, but we could
Yeah.
maybe, yep. Zach's the man for that. He can help us get that set up.
Yeah, and that's up to you guys whether like you want us to do that for this weekend's hackathon, or we can host like another one as well. It doesn't really matter.
You are doing
so
a hackathon. So like this weekend, you're going to do an extensions hackathon. So it's like
Yep.
I mean, people are going to be grabbing this Scaffold-ETH extension and expanding it every time. Like every single user is going to be using Scaffold-ETH. I feel like we should support that. That's definitely something we should support. So maybe if you guys don't have a bounty yet, like maybe if
It's a
you're
7K.
open to it. Oh, okay. You already have 7K. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a
Great.
7K pool. There's the
Okay.
Redstone folks also we're trying to like host this
Nice.
hackathon first one.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like we can have like a Scaffold-ETH specific bounty in this one, or we can like host it else like after
Best
as well.
extension. Yeah. If people are building extensions with Scaffold-ETH, we can just say best extension, and that's fine, I think. Don't you think? What are some of the other prizes in the prize pool?
They're not like segregated into prizes yet. They're
Okay.
just
Okay.
7K prize pool.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think we want to support that. If we could just throw $1,000 into your prize pool and just see this happen and then be around when the game happens just to see it, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. And yeah, if you just helped us promote this hackathon
Bug me in
too.
the Telegram. Be like, here's the tweet. Go retweet this at Austin Griffith, and I'll grab it and retweet it.
Okay, yeah, no, this sounds great.
Great.
Thanks.
Awesome. Anything else, guys?
That's it.
That's it.
Great.
Okay,
build,
I was going to
dudes.
mention,
Really
I
cool.
wanted to mention like one thing with the extensions. You guys were saying that you were using Scaffold-ETH to I think back in the day with Scaffold-ETH-1, we have like a bunch of branches where we have all these like Oracle, ERC20s, like all these like examples, right? But the thing with that is like it is a problem because you have like different instances of Scaffold-ETH-1, and then everything was like outdated. I mean, even maybe you wanted to look only into the smart contract, right? And then you can just like navigate and check the smart contract. But everything you have like, like 500 branches on the Scaffold-ETH-1
It was
repo.
so bulky.
With,
yeah,
all of them are like outdated branches, right? So now with Scaffold-ETH-2, we move away from that model. And what we are building right now, I don't know if you guys noticed when you installed Scaffold-ETH, I think you like use it as a template. So I don't think that you saw that, but we have like this MPX way of installing things. When you want to use Scaffold-ETH-2, you can do like the git clone as usual, and then, like install everything. And we also have like this tool with MPX, right? You can do like MPX create ETH at latest, and that will install you Scaffold-ETH-2, and it makes you, I mean, you can choose like Foundry or Hardhat and all of that, right? And what we are working right now is having like some kind of like support for third-party extensions. So you will be able to say like MPX create ETH latest and dash extension equal to, and then like a GitHub URL. And then that GitHub URL have like, it will need to comply with some rules. For example, you need to define like a config file or whatever, and you will be able in one line like install like any third-party extension with Scaffold-ETH. And then we are allowing some people to, to add contracts or like a React provider an XJS page or a component or whatever. So I think that could be also interesting for this, right? So you could do like npx create ETH latest, and so anyone could just like spin up like extension for this one. I don't know.
But
I
like
just wanted
zooming
to
out,
mention that. Yeah.
yeah, and looking at Scaffold-ETH and our own like tooling and being effective, you're right. Like back in the day with Scaffold-ETH-1, having all those branches was really cool for a learner because they could go through it. We've also moved some of that to speedrunethereum.com too. So when a person is coming in, they go to speedrunethereum.com and they get, you know, the most important branches first, and we've broken them into challenges. But exactly like Carlos is saying, say you want to learn about like we'll need to do a good job of this on the Scaffold-ETH website of saying like here's all the extensions, and when you're like, okay, I want to make a Dutch auction, you should be able to go to the, you know, the finance set of extensions and look through the auctions and find the Dutch auction, and then that will take you to, you know, that specific contract in Scaffold-ETH as an extension. And we just need to have that like library available for people just because it's going to be such a good learning tool. But yeah, no, that's really nice insight from you guys, and it's helpful for us to apply that back to our product.
Yeah, no, that just using it as like, it's almost like an alternative to like docs, where you can
Yeah,
just use this version of
just
some
try it.
product
Yeah.
docs.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. Let me know when you guys tweet stuff. Let me know when there's an event. Zach is hopefully in the channel, but he can set up a YOLO from buildguild.eth or something, maybe our OP stack or something. Is the money on mainnet, or do you want the money on OP? Like, where is the prize pool right now?
Oh, I'll have to ask.
We'll have to add.
from
Okay.
them.
Cool.
We're,
Awesome. Yep. And just general support. Hit us up in the chat. We're around. Keep building
yeah,
cool
for sure,
things.
yeah.